So yesterday we started off discussing with the nomenclature of various carbonyl compounds that includes formaldehyde, acetaldehyde, acrolein, cinnamaldehyde and so on. Few of them are important here, how to write benzophenone, right, acetophenone, furon, for that matter, what is mesitylene, mesitylene oxide, furfural. So these are some new ones, so just practice that. Then we checked about preparation of alkenes. We learned through ozonolysis we can get uh, aldehydes or ketones, right? But it has to be reductive ozonolysis. And you remember the mechanism? We will break the bond of we'll break the double bond by making through these two intermediates. First molozonoid, then an ozonoid formation. And once you get that ozonoid formation, from there we will get the respective aldehydes. Okay. So where we break, you can get this type of products. Here also, if you break these two, you will get this product also. This is called glycol. Then we learned about Wacker's process. Wacker's process is more about think like addition of H2O, right? Keeping that double bond the way it is, right? That follows through Markovnikov's rule. Now, I will just show you, this is an extra sheet which I made of only mechanisms, got it? So, wherever the mechanism, you know, to the standard level of mechanism that is needed, I will put it, but this is not for your course, just for our sake of understanding, got it? For instance, what happens in Wacker's process, just we'll just go through briefly. I'll share this complete mechanism sheet with you, so that whenever you want to refer back what exactly is happening, you can check it out. See, in Wacker's process, what do we see here? We said PdCl2 first in the presence of Cl minus forms a complex, forms PdCl4 2 minus. Okay, and then the alkene will start coordinating with it, and it will coordinate this way by removing out the chlorine. One of the chlorine is being removed. Okay, after that water will coordinate with it, removing one more chlorine. So this will be the intermediate which is formed. Once that is done, water again acts as a nucleophile, attacks on the double bond, because this double bond is in support to the palladium now. So it would have sufficient positive charge developed on it. So water will attack on it. So as water attacks here, you can see that this carbon which is present, okay, let me focus on that carbon, this carbon which is present here, that will start coordinating by sigma bonds. Earlier it was a pi bond which was coordinating, now it is the sigma bond which is coordinating. Okay. As it coordinates now, chlorine will start coming out. So here the removal of this chlorine is the RDS step, got it? So usually what happens when the chlorine is leaving, simultaneously hydrate shift will happen. So hydrate shift is favorable when you have better donating groups, right? So that's why you will see substituted products are more here. So the hydrate shift is seen, and this bond will again become double bond to this. So the pi bond which was present, that will again become double bond. This is called beta hydride elimination. So from here hydride got eliminated and it got added on to palladium. So we will get this type of a molecule. Again, this is just for you to know, not that you have to learn the mechanism. Okay. Once you get this pi bond which is coordinated with it, now there would be an 1-2 inversion observed. What is 1-2 inversion? You can see this CH2, HPD and this carbon, it would make a cyclic transition state here, where this OH which is present here, sorry, this cyclic transition state which has been made, in which this hydride will shift onto this part, and this carbon which is with double bond, which is with palladium, that will start making a double bond formation here. Got it? So this hydride is this hydride. Check out. This is this hydride here. Okay, and this H got transferred onto palladium and it makes a double bond with carbon. So that's how we will get this. This is called beta hydride elimination. Again, these are all steps which you don't have to worry about. What are the important pointers you need to note is the oxygen state of palladium. That could be asked.
మీ ఫోన్ ఏది
Can you guys keep on mute? Right. So what you need to observe carefully is the oxidation state of palladium. If you check out, we started off with this +2 oxidation state here. So it started coming here. Then it has become +1 during this RDS step. Got it? So oxidation state has become +1 here. And that got continued with +1 oxidation state. And finally at this step where the keto form has been done, it will take out the electrons and get reduced as PD. Got it? And finally this PD will come out here. This group RC double bond O CH3 will come out, HCl will come out, water will come out. So palladium get completely reduced. So this could be asked, like from which oxidation state to which oxidation state palladium is going through. Okay. So I kept it for your reference. Whenever you want to check out, just go through step by step there. So that's how the Wacker process works. Next we discussed was about oxo process, right? Oxo process is also similar kind where you have HC, CHO plus and H minus, right? So that's how I wanted you to think. Like you can see, this is an electrophile, this is a nucleophile. This is an easy way of remembering. Got it? Now if you just check out the mechanism once, we can check out how the mechanism is happening here, right? So when CO and H2 is reacted in the presence of a catalyst, we can get this linear form or a branched form. Usually the linear form is major. The catalysts that are used, which means aldehyde form, is usually major. The catalysts which you use are this. We can use this one, we can use this one. So I'm not reading out. And this is used as the best homogeneous catalysis. Okay, all of them are in a similar phase here. Now check about how the reaction takes place. If you take HCOCO4, then linear would come 4, linear and branch if you check out 4:1%, 7:1%, 20:1%. It is showing that the more bulky catalyst you take, more is the formation of linear aldehyde. Okay. So usually we take this, right? In the when I write oxo, you usually see that cobalt octacarbonyl cobalt. So basically this octacarbonyl cobalt in the presence of H2 will convert into this HCO4. Okay. So this CO2 CO8 in the presence of H2 will convert into this, and that's where the mechanism begins. So this on heating will keep losing out this carbonyl group. One carbonyl is lost, that position is occupied by alkene. So in the complex, you may have learned this in coordination compounds. If you recall, CO is replaced with CH2 here. Then this hydride will shift, that got added. You can see that H minus got added here, and this is an empty orbital where the next carbon monoxide can attack. So this carbon monoxide will attack here. Now this CH2 bond will break and start making a bond with C double bond O. So this kind of a bond formation is seen, C double bond O, CH2 CH3. Again this empty box has left now because this carbon monoxide this CH2 CH3 has occupied here, so that box got empty. So H2 oxidation addition reaction will take place where both hydrogens will get added up here, and after that this hydride will shift onto this carbon, this bond will shift onto cobalt, and you can see it has regained the original structure. It started off with this and it regained this original structure. But meanwhile what happened, that hydride got shifted here. You can see this hydride got shifted here, and that's how we got C double bond OH. So in short, if you see the synopsis, it has happened the same thing. H minus got added, CHO got added. So those are the two things which happened in this case. Okay. So that's how the oxo process works. Got it? So I'm just keeping this for your reference. So whenever you want to recheck how the mechanism is happening, you can visit that. Right. Kuchrow's process is something which you are aware of. In Kuchrow's process, Kuchrow's reaction, you know that on a triple bond, we react that with HgSO4, forming a mercuric bridge, and which will form this enol, which will finally convert into aldehydes or ketones. Okay. Hydroboration oxidation. Instead of using B2H6, now what we are using? We are using isoamyl boron hydride. Got it? So secondary isoamyl boron hydride. So this is that structure. It has an empty orbital. So this pi will attack on that, simultaneously H minus will shift here. The advantage of this is it do not undergo further reduction, because there is another double bond. We expect that it might go further reduction, but we have sufficiently branched one, so that will not disturb this double bond. Then we do the oxidation step by using H2O2 OH minus, where this pi will shift here, O minus will attack on the boron, and finally we will get the enol form. From there we will get respective aldehyde. Okay. If it is a primary alcohol which is forming here, then we will get up aldehyde. Secondary alcohol is forming, we get ketones. That's what happens in tautomerism. Next, we learned about Bayer's reagent. In Bayer's reagent, we have seen that we will form a manganese ester first, and this manganese ester will slowly start coming out as MnO2 plus, and you will have CO minus, which on hydrolysis will get back to vicinal diols. And here it will undergo tautomerism, forms a secondary alcohol again, which further undergoes oxidation to give alpha diketones. So that's what happens in Bayer's reagent. Next one, ozonolysis. Through ozonolysis for triple bonds, this bond doesn't break, rest all things are, the history is same. So you are aware of that. Okay. In arenes, we will see certain reactions here. In the case of arenes, which means if we have benzene type of groups, what are the reagents which we see? So from benzene we can get directly the formation of CHO here. Okay. Yesterday while writing, there was a mix up here. This Gattermann-Koch went up, so just correct that. This is Gattermann-Koch, CO plus HCl plus AlCl3 in the presence of CuCl. This is the Gattermann reaction. Now, if you just go back to this mechanism here, check out how this mechanism works. See, in Gattermann-Koch, what we are doing, we are taking CO and HCl and trying to react in the presence of AlCl3. Okay. The idea is to make sure we get a formyl chloride, HC double bond Cl. But formyl chloride is highly unstable. It will undergo alpha elimination, which means C double bond O, Cl, which is present here. So this group will come out as the lone pair here supports, and as it come out, that Cl minus, once it come out, you will get this as HC triple bond O plus Cl minus, and this Cl minus will again take that and will become HCl plus CO. Okay. So you cannot get this HC double bond OCl formed, and we cannot store that because it is unstable. So we make it in situ, which means at the time of reaction we'll make it. So basically what we are doing, we take this gases, carbon monoxide HCl, and compress it, because if you pressurize, the reaction will go in the forward direction, right? So we are pushing that to forward direction so that the formyl chloride is formed. As soon as the formyl chloride is formed, we will start pouring out the benzene on it. So as soon as you add benzene in the presence of AlCl3, we will see the benzaldehyde will form. Okay. The reaction is pretty much electrophilic aromatic substitution. So HC double bond OCl added with AlCl3, it might form this intermediate which will act like an electrophile, and we will expect that electrophilic aromatic substitution will take place here. Okay. So I guess the Gattermann-Koch reaction is clear. Similar to that Gattermann reaction also, where instead of taking carbon monoxide, here we are taking cyanides. So if you have C triple bond N and you take acidic medium just to increase the electrophilicity of carbon, because lone pair on nitrogen will get protonated, and the electrophilicity of carbon increases, and once that increases, the benzene will make an electrophilic aromatic substitution here, EAS will happen, right, and you will get this. Okay, once you get this, C double bond NH, this is called imine. C double bond NH is an imine form. Imine form on hydrolysis, H2O will attack here, so we will get this as OH2. NH minus will take away H plus from here, it will become NH2. Got it? So I have skipped one step here. First, there is an HCl present that will be coming here. Then OH will try to close the bond, and this NH2 which is forming will take away H plus and will become NH3. And finally, we will have C double bond O. Okay, that's how Gattermann reaction works. So these are the two reactions which we have seen yesterday, right? So just let me brief that. Here we can see we will get the product as, right, CHO, and here we will get this as C double bond OR. Okay, here we will get this as benzene plus CO plus HCl. We would get this as AlCl3, get this as CHO. The other batch students, we could not do this yesterday because because of session got ended soon. So just check out this reaction once again. Riemer-Tiemer reaction, we have been doing this recently. We have done this recently, where we have OH and CHO forming salicylaldehyde. Right. And now comes, this is an important reaction which is very much only limited to this chapter. If you take toluene and take these reagents, we can get benzaldehyde. Okay. First reagent, if you check out chromyl chloride, CrO2Cl2, red color solution, and then hydrolysis. This is called Etard reaction. This is called Etard reaction. Okay. Second one is similar to Etard reaction. Instead of taking chromyl chloride, I am taking CrO3 in the presence of anhydride. And again hydrolysis, same thing. In both the cases, what you will see that, we will see in both the cases that this goes through an intermediate. I am taking the B part of it. This goes through an intermediate like this. So we will get this as CHO, C double bond O, CH3, and O, C double bond O, CH3, which on hydrolysis will give us CHO plus 2 moles of CH3 COOH. This is what happens. This is what you need to remember. Okay, this is how much you need to remember. Now I will show you the mechanism. First thing, you can see I took the reference from Jerry Marsh. That's a very important thing you need to know. When you use chromyl chloride, then only you will call it as Etard reaction. Got it? And next important thing, the mechanism of Etard reaction is not completely known. So we do not know exactly whether it is free radical, whether it is carbocation formation, but somehow we will get this complex form. So if you keep it for a long time, you will see the complex will form. Okay. So how the complex is forming, check this out here. Okay. Suppose if I take this toluene and add it to chromyl chloride, right? So the hydrogens present here will get attached with this oxygen, and you can see this hydrogen, two of those hydrogens as bonded with two of these oxygens, and that's how you will get this intermediate. Okay, and once you get this intermediate, you hydrolyze this H3O plus, right, and on hydrolysis we will get this as CHO, correct, and we will have this CrOH and OH, and slowly on hydrolysis all the chlorines will leave and finally we will have CrOH thrice. Got it? All those chlorines will also leave and finally we will have CrOH thrice. Got it? So this is how much you need to know about ETAD. The same thing, how it is happening for anhydrous, you can check out. Same anhydrate will make this bond here. On hydrolysis, we will get these two OH groups which will end up forming aldehyde. Okay guys, again this is for your reference. So you can, whenever you want to check out the mechanism, you can come back and check. As per as your syllabus is concerned, you just need to know this much. This is the mechanism which you need to know. Okay. Next, another important reaction which is straight from NCERT is reaction with Cl2 and HNO. Okay. So if nothing is given here, always take it more controlled mechanism where you will have two Cls being added, and then on reaction with aqueous NaOH or KOH, both those chlorines will be replaced at around 100 degrees and we will get this as CHO. Leave some space if it is still pending. Next reaction is Friedel-Crafts acylation. You are aware of what are the reagents that can be used or this. Okay, RC double bond of Cl, anhydrate or RCOH in the presence of HF and PPA. We will get this as Friedel-Crafts reactions. So I'll just write it down as Friedel-Crafts acylation. Okay. Next important reaction was about, again mechanism is not needed for this, but I'll just show you how it is done. RCH2Cl in the presence of DMSO will form RCHO. Okay. Same thing, if you have primary alkyl halide, you will get aldehyde. If you have secondary alkyl halide, we will get ketones. Okay. Now, if we just try to connect back to the mechanism, let us see how it is being done. This type of a mechanism where we are trying to remove out this bromine and make a double bond formation, this is called Kornblum oxidation. Again, these names are not important for you, just check out how the mechanism is done. See, whenever we consider DMSO exists like a dipolar solvent, which means sulfur as positive charge and oxygen as negative charge. Always imagine it that way, okay? Because it will give sufficient amount of solvation to, cations. So you guys can imagine that it almost exists like a dipolar solvent. The overall reaction is this: if you take any primary alkyl halide, react that with DMSO, we will get aldehyde and Me2S. In this reaction, what happens? The lone pair present on oxygen will attack and X minus is removed. So this is an important point to be noted, that this mechanism is driven to SN2, which means if you have a bulky groups, this reaction would be reluctant. So you may not see this reaction happening. So then oxygen which is connected to sulfur, you have this. The chlorine or the halide which has left here, that will abstract this proton present on this, CH3 here. Sulfur has complete positive charge, that's why this hydrogen is acidic enough that chlorine can pull out. So HCl will come out. This CH2 minus will again take this H plus from this carbon, and this closes as double bond. This is a simultaneous step here, concerted step here. So you will see C double bond O is formed and the lone pair is been taken back by sulfur. So you will get this. Usually when you have dimethyl sulfur forming, you will get a foul smell, okay, which is an indication, okay, aldehyde or ketone must have formed, that's why this is coming, and we will get some foul smell in the solution. This reaction can be enhanced by using AgOTS also, okay, silver tosyl. So if you take RCH2X in the presence of AgOTS, AgX will get precipitated and will get RCH2OTS, and we know that OTS is a better leaving group, correct? OTS is a better leaving group. So in the presence of DMSO, again you will get this aldehyde and tosyl will come out of it. Mechanism is pretty much same how it happens above, okay? Now more the bulkier it is becoming, right? If you see R here, so C7H15, C6H13, so which means more SN2 kind of a driven case here. That means benzyl is more favorable for SN2, right? So more SN2 favored here, more is the percentage yield here. So that shows that this reaction is actually going through SN2 mechanism more. Got it? Again, that much information is just for a reference. All you need to know is that wherever you see primary or secondary alkyl halide, convert them into aldehydes and ketones. Next, from alcohols. This we have done that. It should make a good revision for you. So just I would suggest all of you focus properly, revise each and every reagent, because I'm covering almost 13 known reagents now. All of them you have known. See, first reagent CrO3 acetone anhydrous without water. Without water, primary alcohols will end up at aldehydes, secondary alcohols will end up at ketones. Okay, always remember that. Now, the minute I added water in acetone with H2SO4, you call that as Jones reagent. Okay, so Jones reagent is with H2SO4 and water, or sometimes it is given dilute H2SO4, which also means it is H2SO4 in water. So we need to have in acetone, H2SO4 and water. The other way of writing Jones reagent is this K2Cr2O7 in dilute H2SO4 in acetone, because K2Cr2O7 in dilute H2SO4 again converts to CrO3. Got it? So this way you write or this way you write, it is Jones reagent only. Got it? So what exactly happens in what exactly are we expected in Jones reagent? Let's see that. So CrO3 in H2O and H2SO4 is in acetone is Jones reagent, where we are expecting that if you have primary alcohol RCH2OH with Jones reagent, it will convert into acids. Okay, well, by two steps. First, it will become aldehyde, and by hydrolysis and Jones reagent present, it will become acid RCOOH. Got it? Next, if you take secondary alcohol R and OH, if I take this as secondary alcohol in the presence of Jones reagent, we will get this as ketone. Further reaction doesn't take place. Okay, what you will observe in Jones reagent, chromium is at +6 oxidation state, which is orange yellowish color, that is reduced to Cr+3, which is green color during oxidation. Right? So this is the information you must know. Got this, everyone? Yeah. Now, one very important thing about Jones reagent is that if you take benzyl and allyl alcohols, right, they cannot form stable hydrates because of the resonance stabilization. I'll show you how. Suppose if you check out here, benzene, one second. Here, if you check out when you have allyl or benzyl cases, we know that allyl will make resonance stabilization here. So because of this resonance stabilization, if you add water, this resonance will be lost. So this carbon will not encourage any nucleophilic addition on it. So benzaldehyde or allyl aldehydes, allyl alcohols, they do not form allyl aldehydes. They do not form stable hydrates in water because of the resonance stabilization. That's why wherever you see allyl cases or benzyl cases, benzyl or allyl, they will end up at aldehydes only, even if you use Jones reagent. Okay. For example, let us take this few ones which I have written here. The first one is pretty easy. It is a Jones reagent. Through Jones reagent, because it is at the secondary alcohol, it would form ketone. Now this is primary position. Primary position, first will form aldehyde. First it will form aldehyde CHO, which will further oxidize to form acid. So final product is this. Got it? But if you say take the same thing, right, with allylic position, no matter how much we oxidize here in the zones reagent also, it will only end up at aldehyde. It does not go further. The same logic can be applied here. You can check out if you have allylic position here, right? One thing, Jones never disturb double bonds. Jones reagent will not be disturbing double bonds. So only thing that will do is that primary alcohol which is present, that will end up forming aldehydes. This is what is formed. Okay. So I hope you guys got this. So allylic alcohols also selectively oxidize to aldehydes here. Okay. Just make a note of this every. Right. Next, see, that is the second reagent we have learned. First is CrO3 anhydrous. Second one is Jones reagent. Now you see the other reagents, just the way it looks, CrO3, 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 all of them are same. All of them are pyridine, pyridine, pyridine. Okay. Sarets and cholins are anhydrous cases. These two are anhydrous cases. Anhydrous cases as in 1 degree alcohol will end up at aldehydes and 2 degree alcohol will end up at ketones. These two are anhydrous cases. Conforth reagent, in case if you suddenly take water, that 1 degree will become acids, 2 degree nothing will happen, it will stay at ketones only. Okay. Next, Fazer's reagent. Fazer's reagent is CrO3 in acetic acid. Sometimes you will get this CrO3 in acetic acid. Well, this is not specifically used for alcohols, but if you have a 3 degree alkane, in case if you have a 3 degree alkane in the presence of ACOH, on that 3 degree hydride which is present, right, third degree hydride which is present, that will convert into an alcohol part. So it will oxidize that way. So specifically it is used for that. So in case if you see CrO3 in acidic acid, just search for the third degree hydride, okay, third degree hydrogen, and make that as an alcohol form. PCC, PDC, these are also anhydrous. We have seen this, right? So they are pyridinium dichloride here. Correct. So both of them, what will they do? Both will convert 1 degree alcohol to aldehyde and 2 degree alcohol to ketones. So wherever you see PCC, PDC, just make sure you convert them into aldehydes or ketones. Next, copper or silver at high temperature. At high temperature, we know that, or if you pass this alcohol through red hot copper tube, primary alcohols will end up giving aldehydes. Secondary alcohols will end up giving ketones. Okay, and this is dehydrogenation. This is dehydrogenation. But if you take 3 degree alcohols, 3 degree alcohols will convert into alkenes and it is undergoing dehydration. Got it? This is what happens with copper. Ceric ammonium nitrate test. Let me remind you once again, if you take primary alcohols, it will convert into aldehydes. If it is secondary alcohols, it will convert into ketones. In both cases, we are seeing it is dehydrogenation happening. In short, if you recall, if you say for instance primary alcohol and react that with ceric ammonium nitrate, which is like this, CrO3 2 minus. This is actually yellow in color, which will convert into RCH2O Ce NO3 5 times with minus 2 H plus and NO3 minus. Well, ammonium is there, so ammonium will take this and becomes ammonium nitrate. Okay. And this part which is formed here, this appears to be red in color. And that's how we confirm that it must be primary alcohol. Just in CT you got this similar type of question where if it was phenol, the oxidation will happen, but this time it will end up at brown color. Later the red color complex RCH2, if we keep it for standing, this CNO35 will convert this into RCHO, and ceric will slowly become Cr plus 3. That's when it will become colorless. It's in a complex form. I'm just writing what you need to remember. Okay. So cerium got reduced and alcoholic part got oxidized. Okay. So from yellow to red to colorless. That's how it goes. I guess you guys can recall that. The other oxidation reaction which we have seen is with X2 and aqueous KOH. So what we have done that is RCH2OH. If you take primary alcohols, react that with OH minus and Br2, we'll get this as RCHO. You get that as RCHO. As a simple examples, if you check out here, all you need to do is wherever there is alcohol, you will get this as aldehyde formation first. Further reaction will take place. If it is an iodoform reaction, it will take place. I am not writing further reaction, I am just writing the oxidation product. So first it will form this. After this, you know that bromoform will take place, because it will keep continuing the reaction, and finally you will get this as CH3 CO minus Na plus CHBr3. This is bromoform reaction. Okay, so just to again revise you what is the mechanism, how it usually happens in this case, not needed for JEE, but just check out how it happens. Suppose if OH minus is being taken, it will first extract this proton, because you are taking sufficiently high concentrated OH minus. So OH minus will take away that H plus, so it will become an alkoxide. Alkoxides will attack on bromine, right, or halides here, so which will take away this X plus part and X minus will be left. So minus X minus, right. So we will get this as OX here. So once you get that OX, now this is a pulling group, so this hydrogen will become acidic. So OH will attack and take away this proton, and double bond will start forming here, and X minus will leave. So you can see X is coming as plus and leaving as minus. So X will come out as minus, and that minus is the one which will take away, will come out, and this part will become aldehyde. So this is the mechanism, you can check it out. Okay. Right. So this is about the reactions of alcohols, which you have already read it before. Another reaction we have already learned is Swan's oxidation. Okay. So Swan's oxidation is very selective reaction where we take primary or secondary alcohols, convert them into aldehydes and ketones. This in the presence of DMSO, and you can see this is like a oxalate. So this is dichlorooxyl group. Now that will convert into aldehydes or ketones respectively. Just if you go through the mechanism once again here, check. Like I said, DMSO exists as dipolar molecule. So we can say O minus is a strong nucleophilic site. It will attack on this C double bond O. As soon as the attack takes place, O minus will come, and through SNTD mechanism, you can see that chlorine will come out. Again double bond is formed here. Once this oxygen is present, this oxygen will try to make a double bond with here, and this bond will break, this chlorine will leave. So we will get CO2 and CO. This can be asked, like what are the other products which are forming. We will see carbon monoxide as well as carbon dioxide forming in this, right. And the other part which is formed here, if you check out the other part which is formed here, so this group has shifted here, so we will get this intermediate, you can see, right? So this is the part which will be useful for us in reaction. So this cationic part, sulfur cationic part, where lone pair of oxygen or reactant will attack, we will get this as OH here, and Cl minus will take away that H plus, which will make this formation like an ether. And once you get that, yeah, this is always supported by a good base here, Nr3, because that base can extract the proton from here, right? Once it extract the proton, this will become CH2 minus. That CH2 minus will fetch the alpha hydrogen from the reactant, and it will form an aldehyde, and dimethyl sulfide will form. Like I said, dimethyl sulfide, the minute it forms, it will give you a foul smell, so which makes the reaction completed. Okay. So deprotonation of intermediate 1 gives the sulfur lide, which undergoes the intramolecular deprotonation. Okay. So that's how the reaction is taking place here. So you can revisit and check the mechanism once again. Next mechanism is about Oppenhier's oxidation. This also we have learned as a reverse of reverse to MPV reaction. So we have seen this as Mervin-Pondorf Varley reaction, where we used to take an aldehyde, right? Ketone, and react that with an alcohol. Here we are doing exactly opposite. We are taking a reactant. This is our substrate. Our substrate is an alcohol. We are converting that into a ketone. So it is only, this reaction is specifically for secondary alcohols only. So through secondary alcohols, we are going to get this part of it. Okay. First, we'll see what are the important pointers to be noted. We have to add through acetone. If you add excess of acetone, the reaction will shift in the forward direction, because it is a completely equilibrium reaction, and this will push the reaction to forward direction. And it is highly selective, does not disturb any amines, sulfides, aldehydic, alkene groups which are present in this R. If there is any other aldehydic group, if there is any alkene group or amine group, sulfide group, they won't get disturbed at all. So it is highly selective, where only secondary alcohol is converting into keto form. Okay. See the mechanism, it is exactly the opposite of MPV reduction. See, first the lone pair attacks on aluminium, and isopropoxy group will come out. First one isopropoxy group will come out. The isopropoxy group which has came out will take away this proton and becomes alcohol. So the acetone part, if you check out, right, that can be retained as an alcohol here. So you can see that we got an alcohol part. The rest of the reactant which is left out is this. Now here, this rest of the reactant, if you check out, that is reacted with the acetone. And how is this reaction done now? So this acetone's lone pair is attacked on aluminium, and it would form this transition state, a 6-member transition state, a chair form here. And you can see the bonds will start moving here, oxygen and this oxygen aluminium bond will be formed, right? This hydride has been shifted here, correct? And this oxygen is making a double bond here. You can see the oxygen is making double bond. So basically what happened after this, the red, whatever I have written, the red color part, check red color part, this is the acetone part, right? This acetone part, acetone part, acetone part. That has become the isopropoxy group. That has become isopropoxy group. And the isopropoxy which was left initially, which was green in color, that is the one which has come out as alcohol. And our reactant which is black in color, that got oxidized to ketones. Okay. Again, go through this once again. But here it's completely a reversible mechanism. You can start pushing the reaction again by increasing isopropanol. So if you increase the excess amount of isopropanol, so we will push the reaction back to the reactant side. So that would be MPV reduction. Okay. Another oxidizing agent which we have seen is MnO2. MnO2 will give you oxidation at the allylic position. So we know that this would form CHO bond here, and it does not disturb any non-allylic alcohols. So this is a non-allylic alcohol, this is an allylic alcohol. So it will only convert that allylic part of alcohols to the respective aldehydes and ketones. Okay, this is reaction with MnO2. Got it? Now let us see that how the reaction works there. See what is happening in MnO2. In MnO2, first lone pair of oxygen, lone pair of MnO2 will attack on hydrogen here, will take away proton and it will form O minus. That O minus will attack on manganese, and as soon as it forms here, you can see this type of a group is formed. Got it? This on heating, you can see MnO2 is usually followed by heating. Then homolytic fission is taking place, radical formation is observed where this H radical will go on to this oxygen and becomes OH. Manganese will have one radical point, this carbon will have this radical point, and this radical here with oxygen by breaking this bond will form a double bond O here, and manganese will take away one more electron, right? And that's how manganese will get those lone pair with OH twice, and this oxygen has undergone oxidation to give double bond O. Okay. Again, mechanism is not essential for you, just for the sake you need to know how it is happening. One good thing you can learn out of this is there is a free radical mechanism taking place during a concerted step. Okay. Right. So these 14 are all 14 are repeated ones. Got it? From alcohols, how do we get aldehydes and ketones? All of this we have studied. So please go through that once again. Yeah. You can make a notes, leave 1 or 2 pages just so that you can revise these notes. Now, start from here. This is a new reaction known as Stephen's reduction. How we get aldehydes or ketones by Stephen's reduction? Basically, if you take any nitriles or cyanides on treatment with SnCl2 in concentrated HCl and water, got it, we will end up getting aldehydes, which is RCHO. Right. If you focus on the mechanism, what's happening? First, these cyanides are converting into RCHO, which is C double bond OH. You can check carbon is losing 3 hydrogens to nitrogen, which makes the oxidation state as +3. While here it is losing 2 to oxygen and gaining 1 from hydrogen. So it makes an oxidation +1. So the number of electrons which are used for reduction here are 2. So 1 mole of cyanide requires 2 moles to reduce into aldehydes or ketones. Okay. Now in that case, how we can check this here? If you check out SnCl2, which is acting as a reducing agent, what will it do? SnCl2, with HCl will form nascent hydrogens because this gets oxidized. You can see now +2 is getting oxidized to +4. So it is providing nascent hydrogens. So this nascent hydrogens are the one which will get added on the double bond, right? So on this triple bond. So it will make the formation of imine. So imine formation is observed. So now in the solution we have imine, we have SnCl4, and we still have HCl left, correct? So SnCl4 again reacts with HCl, it will form SnCl6 minus 2 and releases H plus. That H plus will be attacked by the lone pair present on nitrogen. and you will have that H plus here on nitrogen with NH2 plus, and because it is releasing 2 H plus here, so 2 moles of imines will be forming a complex like this, and which on hydrolysis will break this bond, imine bond, and becomes aldehyde. This part will become ammonia and you will get this complex, ammonium tetrachlorostannate. Got it? This is what you need to remember. You know, this mechanism is to be remembered and practiced. Got it? The actual mechanism, there are few more steps involved in it. Got it? That I'll just show you. But meanwhile, I would suggest you to write down that first. Okay, let's see what's happening. The lone pair present on nitrogen is attacking on HCl and it is forming this. Then SnCl2 with +2 oxidation state is donating an electron on this carbon, and this pi is completely shifting onto nitrogen. So you will get a radical form here. This SnCl2 will take away this chlorine and have a radical form of SnCl3, and this radical is going to give away electrons to carbon, and from there it will take away this H plus, and SnCl3 will take another Cl minus and will become SnCl4, and that's how it is increasing its oxidation state from +2 to +4, and here by bonding that it is forming an imine. So that's how the imine is actually forming. Once that imine with SnCl4 is present with another 2 moles of HCl, okay, 2 moles of HCl, we can see this complex is forming SnCl6 with -2, which is the charge is balanced by this imine with this H plus, NH2 plus, NH2 plus, here also plus. Okay. So that's how this complex is forming, which on hydrolysis, right, which on hydrolysis, this part, right, so because it will take away electrons here first, so they will take away electrons, and those lone pairs will take away H plus from water here and becomes NH3. Got it? And the OH minus which is present will attack on this carbon, so we'll get this as OH here, and NH3 will leave, OH will make a double bond here, Cl minus which has present here will take away this H plus, and SnCl4 will remain, and you will get this RC double bond O NH, and this NH4Cl of 2 moles and SnCl4 will again becomes ammonium tetrachlorostannate. This is the actual mechanism, but for our convenience, how do we remember is this, okay. Yes, all of you got what is Stephen's reduction. Now another way to get aldehydes or ketones from cyanides is Dibal H. Dibal H is diisobutyl aluminum hydride. We have seen this before, and this usually is very stable at -78 degrees on addition to SNTD. So SNTD additions will keep this dibal stable at -78, which means another dibal will not attack on this carbon. So directly we will do hydrolysis after this. So if you do hydrolysis, all other dibal H will be there, that is also lost, as well as this will also get rearranged to form aldehydes. Okay. Why I am telling you this? Because if at all, if you recall, suppose if you had C double bond O and Cl, and if the same reaction was done by lithium aluminum hydride, first we will get this as RCO minus, okay, AlH3, right, AlH3, and here we have Cl with hydride, correct. Now this won't remain stable, got it, even at this low temperature this won't remain stable, got it. it would immediately, again what would happen, this would immediately, this AlH3 which is present, that will attack the next mole, right? At the same time this will immediately rearrange it to form this aldehyde, RC double bond OH, got it? So further reaction will again take place, AlH3 lithium aluminum hydride next mole, or AlH3 here, this hydride will attack here, got it? So it will go up to alcohol formation. So you cannot stop the reaction at aldehydes. But if you take dibalh H and maintain at low temperature at minus 78 degrees, this remains stable, this would remain stable. So hence we can directly hydrolyze after this and we can get aldehydes. That is the advantage of dibalh H. Okay. So industrially dibalh H is always taken at low temperatures so that we can selectively oxidize up to aldehydes or ketones. So you can see all the acid derivatives, whether it is cyanides, esters or acid chlorides, okay, all of them will react with dibalh H to give RCHO. Next. Again, cyanides with Grignard's reagent will also give alcohols. This we have studied recently. How the mechanism happens. This R minus will attack, nitrogen will get the lone pair. So we will get this iminium salt form. This is the iminium salt, right? Then hydrolysis is happening, which means this lone pair will take away H plus. We would get this C double bond N, complete imine is formed here, right? Imine, still nitrogen has a lone pair, it will take H plus, again iminium salt is forming, and once it forms, water as a nucleophile attacks on carbon, right? As soon as it attacks here, pi bond will again shift on to nitrogen. It will get one more lone pair, that will take away H plus from this water which we have added. We will get this as NH3. The lone pair will try to close it as a double bond here. Okay, I have written it here. To close it as a double bond here, NH3 will come out. So we will get this as a keto form, and the lone pair finally present on ammonia will take away H plus. So remember this, if you take acidic solution, we will get NH4 plus. If you take basic solution, you will get NH3. Okay. So that is one thing you need to take care of, Grignard's reagent. Another important, why you need to be little careful whether it is a cyanide given or cyanic acid given. So in case if you have H, C triple bond N, and then we are reacting with R dash MgX, then acid base only is more preferred, because we know that first R MgX is highly basic, so it will prefer acid base reaction first. So plus Mg X and Cn. The sixth reaction which we have seen was with cyanides or nitriles. Now we will see how to make aldehydes or ketones using carboxylic acids. The first reaction is dry distillation. Dry distillation of calcium or barium salts. Sometimes it will be given barium also. The reaction is same. Okay. On heating the calcium salts of carboxylic acids, dry distillation as in there is no water, we are just heating that. So we will see carbon dioxide gas will come, calcium oxide will settle down, and we will get this keto form. Okay. Let us see how the mechanism takes place here. The lone pair present on this one of the C double bond O will extract this proton on heating. Okay. And as soon as you get that, this carbon will get sufficiently delta negative, this will get sufficiently delta positive, and a bond will be established between those two. So this is what would happen. There would be a bond formation between these two carbons here. Got it? You get this as COH. It can be vice versa also. You can say, sir, this hydrogen is shifting here and a bond is forming here. So both are possible. and we cannot figure out which is major and minor like that, because both will be substantially feasible. Now once you get this here, on heating it will undergo uh, complete concerted steps of breaking. Here you can see this will become C double bond O, this will break as Ca plus 2 and O2 minus, and this bond breaks to make this as a double bond here. Okay, so we will get this as R CH double bond COH CH2R. Okay, so just to specify, you can see this carbon is the one which is attacking, which is forming double bond with the other carbon. So that would make you clear. Now once you get that eno form, once you get that the enol form here, this as enol form here, it will undergo tautomerism and you would get this as keto form, and the byproducts are calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. Okay, this is how the dry distillation takes place. The short way of remembering is this: first write the calcium salt, from one end take away carbon dioxide, the other side take away calcium oxide, either up or down, either ways it is fine. Okay, so what would be the product we will have here now? The product what you can have is RCH2 C double bond O CH2 and R. This is the final product, and we will get this as calcium oxide plus carbon dioxide. Now check if you have two different salts, right? I took this as one calcium salt, this is the other calcium salt. Okay, if you have two different calcium salts here, then we can get mixture of them. So which means I can get this as R C double bond O R, right, plus R C double bond O R dash, got it, and we can get this as R dash C double bond O R. So this type of a question could be asked, like how many products are forming, how many keto products are forming. So if you have two different type of calcium salts, you can get these three. Okay, same way here also there are two different kinds here, right? So we can have this a self keto formation here, the other one is crossed, which means we can get this as R C double bond OH. But if you are expecting that HCHO is formed, HCHO does not form, because if you check out the mechanism, there has to have an hydride shift, got it? So which means it should have an alpha carbon here, which should have a hydride, and that's how it should form, because it would go through this tautomeric step only. So you won't see a product which is forming like this. HCHO product will not form. So this product doesn't form. So only two products in this case. So remember, if the formaldehyde, right, sorry, formate is given, right, then you will get only two products. One is the self of this, one is the cross of these two. So which means if I take only formate, okay, calcium formate, there won't be any reaction. So here you will not see any reaction happening. Okay. Yes, all of you are following that. Same thing, this is self, so we can have this as CH3 C double bond O CH3. That's how acetone is prepared. Alright. The side products are CO2 plus CaO. Okay. Here also I've taken that as an example, CH3 C double bond O CH3. Next CH3 CHO. These are the only two products which are formed. Okay. Just like how the dry distillation is being taken place, now we can do the reaction with MnO in ether. Okay, anyone has a doubt on that? Okay, so we can do the reaction with MnO and heat. How does this reaction work here? Just like how we have written the product above, like a salt formation, here also we have to write the same way. We'll get this as R C double bond O R plus 1 CO2 and H2O. That MNO will come out as MNO only. Okay, I'll show you how the mechanism works. First, let me write the products. So we'll get this also as R C double bond O, R plus R C double bond O, R dash plus R C double bond O, sorry, R dash C double bond O, R dash. So 3 products. See the mechanism here, no? First, RCH2COH with MNO, right, will undergo dehydration, which means it will form like an anhydride. So CH2 C double bond O with O and manganese, just like calcium salt has been formed. So first it will form this manganese salt, CH2R, and H2O is gone. Okay, do not worry about, sir, which oxygen is left. Usually this OH and this O. Okay, so that was left, sorry, this H here, this both, if you take 2 moles of that, so here we can take this as H2O coming out, and this manganese, one of the O will get connected here. So this is how the connection takes place. Okay. So we will get this manganate salt. Just like the shortcut we have seen it here, how we did carbon dioxide to remove calcium oxide, we will do the same thing here also. Again, this manganese will come out as MnO, this carbon dioxide will come out as CO2 here. So what is left out? Left out with RCH2, C double bond O, CH2R plus CO2 plus MnO. Okay, so MnO is used as a catalyst on heating in the presence of, usually we take ethers for this reaction, and on doing that we will get this carbon dioxide and we will get this keto form. Guess all of you got that? Okay, please make a note of these two, with calcium salt and with manganese oxide. We'll just end up with this last reaction. So we're discussing about how to extract ketones or aldehydes using carboxylic acids. So another way to extract is from dicarboxylic acids. So if you have 2 carboxylic acids, then how can we do this? Suppose if you have dicarboxylic acids with an alkyl chain in between, and as long as this N is 4 or 5, okay, not below that, not above that, right, then we can get a cyclic ketones, right. So the product formed will be like this, CH2 twice with C double bond O connection here. Let me show with an example here. So you can see N is equal to 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are 4 carbons, CH2 groups between 2 COOH. You know this acid, right? Adipic acid. So on heating the adipic acid, we will see one of the carbon dioxide will come out completely, and this would form like a carb anion which will attack here. Got it? And that's how we will see the formation as double bond O. As of now, I suggest you to just remember this, because we will come across the same reaction once again in carboxylic acid, where we can discuss the detailed mechanism. But since we are in the preparation of ketones, take it for granted that for N is equal to 4 and 5 chains in dioic acids, we would be able to get this cyclic ketones with carbon dioxide being released.